welcome to the SVG-TV news for today, Thursday, March 18th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, and the National Insurance Service, NIS, are among contributors to SVG in its fight against COVID-19. This is according to Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez, who was at the time responding to a question in Parliament on Tuesday from opposition MP Sinclair Leacock about the full list of contributors to SVG's COVID-19 pandemic mitigation, the cash or in-kind amount of these contributions, how much was spent in 2020, and if any of these monies are left to be spent.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank provided a grant of $500,000. That money was used to procure COVID-19 medical equipment, supplies, and related items. The CDB provided a loan of $30.5 million, which was part of the CDB's emergency response to all member countries, but it contained the requirement that that money essentially be used to pay down a portion of the CDB debt to provide some more fiscal space. The IMF provided $43.12 million through its rapid credit facility. The World Bank, through a mechanism called CERC, the Contingency Emergency Response Component, allowed us to reallocate portions of existing IDA loans, $12.15 million that was spent largely in the medical field.
Minister Gonzalez highlighted some of the programs the government used some of the monies for last year.
Money that was paid in employment support, money that was paid to farmers, to vendors, to handcart operators, to cultural and creative professionals, to minibus operators, to taxi and tour bus operators, vulnerable persons, a separate amount to vulnerable women, the purchase of starch for love boxes, the additional prime monies, additional home care for the home helpers for the elderly.
Minister Gonzalez, however, told Parliament that all the monies and assistance received last year for COVID-19 mitigation were not spent, and some will go towards procuring vaccines and other emergencies.
The short answer in terms of what is spent currently, not counting the CDB and World Bank money that we hope to get, that we're currently negotiating. We have $54 million from the CATU, the disaster drawdown facility. We have not yet spent about $6.5 million of the World Bank contingency emergency response component, but that is largely due to procurement delays. We've programmed the money, we just haven't spent it yet. And and that's it. The remaining money is money that and of course the vaccine money we have not spent yet because of logistical challenges to the vaccine. And as I said, we still continue to negotiate with our development partners for additional assistance as this pandemic becomes more protracted in its economic impact.
The finance minister further noted that government is currently in negotiation with the Caribbean Development Bank for additional COVID-19 finances in the amount of $10.6 million. The national vaccination drive continues island-wide, including at the walking vaccination site at the Victoria Park. Since the launch of the campaign on February 14th, more than 8,000 persons have been vaccinated here in SVG. As we hear in this report from SVG-TV's Larissa Pugsley-Kidd, the numbers are moving at a slow pace at the Victoria Park, with most persons coming forward to take the jab being seafarers or those who need to travel.
It is now 1 month into the vaccination campaign here in SVG, and at walk-in vaccination site at the Victoria Park today, persons continue to trickle in, but not in the numbers when it first started. The Kingstown District is supervising the vaccination drive at the Victoria Park, and supervisor staff Nurse Shelley and Alexander Ross said the elderly continue to show up, but the majority who are now coming forward are persons who have to return to work overseas, including seafarers.
Within late, we have seen the younger group age range somewhere between 20 and 40 coming as well. What we have noticed too is a lot of the seamen and women coming in to get their vaccines because, you know, they've been talking about opening up the industry. So persons in that bracket has been coming to get the vaccines, and those persons who have to travel to other countries for one reason or the other.
Asked if the negative reports about the AstraZeneca vaccine may have contributed to the decline in numbers, Alexander Ross said that no person who showed up to get vaccinated changed their mind about taking it. However, questions about the blood clots purportedly as a result of the vaccine have been numerous.
Would have asked in relation to that article if it's the same vaccine, if we got the same batch and so forth. But persons who were here and who would have asked the question would have still taken the vaccines after they would have been reassured in one way or the other.
Today, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, declared the AstraZeneca vaccine safe and effective. Nurse Alexander Ross said that based on the observations of vaccinated persons, normal reactions were recorded.
We have had mild reactions in relation to similar to other vaccines, flu-like symptoms, little pain to the area, persons feeling a little lightheaded or maybe dizzy or something.
Some of the persons taking the vaccine today told us that they heard about the negative reports about the AstraZeneca vaccine, but feel they are better off taking it. One woman said she works on a cruise ship and a requirement to return to work is to be fully vaccinated.
Well, because of my job, I work on a cruise ship and it's required for us to have the vaccine. Should be leaving next month, but all my documents are not updated as yet.
Meanwhile, there are those persons, including teachers and nurses, who have not yet taken the AstraZeneca vaccine, with a number of them saying they are awaiting the Sputnik vaccine from Russia. Some persons also told us that they are following the Prime Minister's lead and will only take the vaccine he and other leading health officials took, which is the Sputnik vaccine. In the meantime, the vaccination drive at Victoria Park will continue up until Saturday, March 20th, 2021. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Negative reports about the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine have affected the vaccination campaign here in SVG. So says infectious disease specialist and a member of the COVID-19 task force, Dr. Gerald Thompson, who told SVG-TV News in a telephone interview today that persons were already skeptical about taking the vaccine prior to reports of blood clots resulting in several European countries suspending the vaccine, and now the hesitancy locally to take the jab has increased.
Some persons would naturally, as a human element, have had some pause in them taking the vaccine, but now they were saying we wanted to wait and hear what the EU and the World Health Organization had to say, and we're very pleased that they have come out resoundingly to indicate that it is safe to go ahead and take the Oxford University.
Today, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, released its findings from investigations carried out after reports of the blood clots and has declared the vaccines safe and effective. Dr. Thompson said with this vote of confidence, the Ministry of Health, along with the COVID-19 task force, will now have to re-strategize to get more Vincentians to take the jab, noting that the earlier reports may have changed some persons' decision about being vaccinated.
The officials of the Ministry of Health that I am also assisting, they have a lot of work. It's hard work. The work has been made harder, but I believe the faith is that we have to get the work done. We cannot give up, and we have to redouble the efforts to catch up. We are not part of the company Oxford AstraZeneca, but we have faith in the product and will, I think, continue to promote the product and any other vaccines so that we are utilizing here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
To date, Dr. Thompson said more than 8,000 persons have been vaccinated here in SVG, and persons need to keep abreast of what is happening with the vaccination process globally.
I think that the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, those who will require the vaccine, should continue to read and listen, and at the same time, I believe that as a member of the task force, that they should continue to receive the Oxford University AstraZeneca quite favorably, as it is a safe product and it will not in any way induce clotting. It is the virus that will be the entity that could induce clotting, or that it could occur anyway as part of the natural disease profile of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines recorded 3 new positive COVID-19 cases from 207 samples received and processed on Tuesday, resulting in a positivity rate of 1.4%. 2 recoveries were reported, bringing the total number of recoveries to 1,506. 169 cases remain active and 9 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,684 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is being urged to use a mask, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Professor Richard Robertson, a Vincentian geologist with the UWI Seismic Research Center in Trinidad and Tobago, has returned home as lead scientist monitoring the La Soufrière volcano. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today, Dr. Robertson said that he will be continuing the work of other lead scientists, seismologist Dr. Rod Stewart and volcanologist Dr. Thomas Christopher, who are all still on island. Professor Robertson's analysis of the new lava dome since he was last here is that the growth rate from the effusive eruption has changed from when it got started in late December.
We had a big concern when I was here last time about the speed at which it was heading towards the western side and therefore getting to the lower lip. That is perhaps not as fast as we would have anticipated, so it's actually taken a longer time to get to a place where it could possibly get into the surrounding valleys. Right now it's essentially creeping along the valley, along the moat, along the low-lying areas on the outer side of the pre-existing dome, and just creeping around. It's not more a donut, almost a donut shape, sort of, it's getting towards. So it's just going further.
Professor Robertson said he and his team will take a hike to the summit of the volcano tomorrow and use a drone to take measurements. No new measurement was released since February 12th. Professor Robertson also noted the spread of the damage to the nearby vegetation due to gases emitting from the volcano.
When we first got here late last year, there was not very much. And then it had a sort of a big increase in early January. Since then, it's been, the rate at which it's moving down slope has been very slow, in fact. And if anything, rather than moving further down slope, it's sort of more spreading along the top part of the rim. So yes, the area of its increase, I wouldn't say it's sort of surprising. It hasn't moved as fast as it did initially, and that's in keeping with the fact that the gas is still coming out, and it's still coming out in a very diffuse way. So
Professor Robertson said he's pleased with the work done by the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, in the communities in the red and orange zones, and that he will be working along with the organization in its continued sensitization process.
I would suspect that, as far as I'm aware, NEMO has been working hard at beefing up and making sure that their volcanic emergency plan is finalized and it's thought through and practiced. And one of the things I'll be doing while I'm here this time is actually working closely with them in sort of testing out some elements of the plan and making sure all elements of it is well known. And that includes working with at the community level with the various community groups that you have. Of course, it's a challenge given the core environment that we're in now. And that's always going to be a challenge. But I suspect that that will become easier as the vaccination program draws out and it becomes easier, well, safer.
In light of the recent comments made by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on the government's intention to incentivize omnibus operators and their conductors to take the COVID-19 jab in order to increase their passenger capacity, President of the Vincentian Transportation Association, Royron Adams, says members are frustrated with the government's actions. Adams told SVG-TV News via telephone interview today that drivers and conductors only comprise a small percentage of the 70,000 Vincentians expected to be vaccinated, and even if they take the vaccine, there is no guarantee that they will not contract or spread COVID. Therefore, the incentive is not logical.
Do the mathematics. Minibus operators and conductors only account for about 1,200 people of the population. 1,200. If you are trying to get to 70,000 in terms of the number to create herd immunity, you are now trying to, for lack of a better term, incentivize 1,200 people. The science on protection with the vaccination is still out there. There's no definitive conclusion that the vaccination prevents you from getting COVID-19. So the question is, minibus drivers and operators agree to go and get vaccinated. That doesn't stop us from contracting the virus. It doesn't stop us from spreading the virus if we get it. And we still need a second dose, which will be due 12 weeks down the road or 10 weeks down the road. So what happened between that period? The logics that are being put forward in support of this incentive being offered by the government is just flawed. We are absolutely frustrated by the government's position and the actions of the government.
Adams said the government appears to be discriminating against the omnibus operators, noting that adjustments have been made to the protocols for some, including churches, but not for omnibuses.
Face of it, it is clear to me that what the government is actually doing is taking a discriminatory approach to the minibus sector. What has happened is that we've lost our capacity due to the pandemic.
Adams noted that the negotiations between Vintus and the government have never indicated the vaccine incentive and that the association awaits the Special Rule Order, or SRO, to determine what actions they will take next.
We were in the middle of a negotiation where we submitted a position making a request for the increase in capacity. Nothing in our conversation suggested that vaccination was going to be part of any kind of response from the government. The government now, in trying to drive the uptake of vaccination, have sought to commingle the request for an increase in capacity with vaccination. Obviously, on the face of it, we all know that clearly appears to be a breach of one's natural right to choose. And for us, we were awaiting the SRO so that we can sort legal advice on the matter.
Speaking on the announcement made in Parliament on Tuesday by Finance Minister Camilo Gonsalves that there may be a rollback in the subsidy payments of $500 or $600 for omnibus operators from 2 months to 1 month, Adams says operators would prefer just to have their capacity increased to 12.
With respect to the Minister of Finance comments, well, what he has actually said is that they are going to disburse $500 or $600 according to what we propose. However, we still have the issue of the condition. So we know that not all minibusmen is going to benefit from that, because many of us have been off the road and have not walked the 4 to 5 days. How they would do that is a matter that is very subjective. And then you have the issue of what would happen to the second disbursement as they promised. Quite frankly, our operators prefer to have our capacity back.
Minister of Tourism Carlos James has confirmed that government signed a 20-year franchise agreement on April 16, 2019 for the Holiday Inn at Diamond. Responding to a question in Parliament on Tuesday from opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday about the agreement, its main components and the role, if any, Holiday Inn is playing in the design, construction and financing of the project. In his response, the Minister of Tourism said that the franchise agreement was signed with Six Continents Hotels, Inc.
The Six Continents Hotel is in fact the precursor company to the current Intercontinental Hotels Group, IHG, which owns the Holiday Inn Express and Suites brand. The franchise agreement outlines the terms relating to the construction, the operation, of the hotel, initial training programs which would be offered, of course, by the hotel brand, and a variety of ongoing support options to help the franchise run its business successfully. The franchisor owns the proprietary trade secrets relating to the establishment, the marketing, promotion, and operation of the franchise under the name Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
The tourism minister pointed out that the financing for the construction of the hotel is fully funded by an arrangement with the CARICOM Development Fund, the National Insurance Service, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Intercontinental Hotels Group provides the prototype, the concept for design for the hotel. And of course, given our agreement with IHG, we are required to follow the prototype design for our Holiday Inn Express here at Diamond. Even so, IHG allows the franchisee to make changes to the model. In fact, the arrangement will see at Diamond an outdoor pool as opposed to an indoor pool, which is normally the custom type of design and concept with Holiday Inn Express hotels. The IHG must approve all final architectural plans of the hotel.
Minister James further noted that as part of the terms of the franchise agreement with Six Continents Hotels, Inc., the company will bear the full cost and expense of its maintenance to ensure that the hotel operation is suited for the Holiday Inn Express brand. Police have arrested and charged Gordon Paynes, a 39-year-old farmer of Georgetown, along with two Grenadian nationals, Michael Derrick, a 25-year-old fisherman, and Roseanne Blarda, an 18-year-old, with the offense of drug trafficking. The accused men allegedly had in their possession 17,252 grams of cannabis for the purpose of drug trafficking at Union Island on Monday, March 15th. The three men appeared before the Serious Offences Court yesterday and pleaded not guilty to the charges. The Vincentian national, Paynes, was granted bail in the sum of $30,000 with one surety and is to report to the Georgetown Police Station between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. every Monday and Friday. A stop notice was also issued for Paynes at all ports, and he is to surrender his travel documents. Bail was denied to both Grenadian nationals and is expected to be reviewed tomorrow. A 29-year-old conductor of Lago Heights will spend the next 3 years behind bars for burglary. Alex Alexander reportedly entered the dwelling house of a 27-year-old teacher of the same address and as a trespasser and stole a quantity of items valued at $16,244. The incident occurred on March 14th. Alexander appeared before the Serious Offences Court yesterday and pleaded guilty to the charge. He was subsequently sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Meanwhile, investigations are ongoing into a report of burglary at Chateaubelair. Police say was made by a 54-year-old businessman. According to reports, some unknown person or persons entered the National Parks building as trespassers and allegedly stole an assortment of drinks and other goods. Police say the value of the items at this time is unknown. The incident occurred at Darkview, Richmond, between March 10th and 16th. Any persons with information that can assist with the investigations are asked to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crimes at 456-1339, the officer in charge of the Northwestern Division at 458-2229, or any police station or police officer you're comfortable with. All information, police say, will be treated confidentially. In more police news, a 40-year-old farmer of Chateaubelair is charged with the offense of wounding. The accused allegedly wounded a 47-year-old fisherman of Fitzhugh by striking him on the left side of his forehead with a cutlass at Richmond. The accused is expected to appear before the magistrate's court to answer the charge.